Maria Gunning. Maria Gunning was one of the most famous beauties in 18th century Britain. She was Irish, poor, and so beautiful that when she and her sister arrived in London, crowds followed them in the street. Men fought for introductions. Aristocrats wrote about her face. Within a few years, she married into the nobility and became the Countess of Coventry. But beauty at the time had a very specific color: white. Not healthy white, not normal skin white, almost porcelain white. A face so pale it told people you did not work outdoors, did not stand in sunlight, and did not belong to the lower class. To get it, women used a cosmetic called ceruse. It was made with white lead. They rubbed it over the face, neck, chest, and arms, then added red circles of rouge on the cheeks. From a distance it looked clean, expensive, and perfect. Up close it was poison. Lead irritated the skin. It caused rashes, sores, swelling, hair loss, and dark stains. The more damage it caused, the more makeup women needed to hide it. So they added another layer, then another, then another. Maria's husband reportedly hated it. One story says he once chased her at a party with a handkerchief, trying to wipe the white paint from her face in front of everyone. She kept wearing it. She died in 1760. She was 27. People later called her a victim of cosmetics, not because she was ugly, because the thing that made society call her beautiful may have slowly destroyed her. Queen Elizabeth. Wait. Elizabeth was Queen of England for 44 years. In portraits, she looks almost unreal. White face, red hair, sharp eyes, no wrinkles, no softness, more symbol than person. Part of that image came from politics. Elizabeth had survived smallpox in 1562. The disease almost killed her and left marks on her skin. A queen could not look weak. A queen could not look damaged. So her face became a mask. The fashion at court was the same one Maria Gunning later followed. Pale skin meant rank, control, purity, and power. Venetian ceruse became one of the most famous cosmetics in Europe. It was white lead mixed into a paste. It covered scars well. It also damaged the skin underneath. The more the skin broke down, the more the mask mattered. Elizabeth's portraits kept getting flatter and whiter as she aged. The human face disappeared. The symbol remained. There is debate over exactly how much lead makeup she used and whether it helped kill her. But the beauty standard was real. The lead was real. And the idea was simple. A woman with power was not allowed to age in public. So the solution was to cover her real face with poison. Arsenic complexion wafers. In the Victorian era, beauty became even quieter. The perfect woman was supposed to look pale, delicate, fragile, and almost sick. Bright skin suggested outdoor labor. Tanned skin meant work. A pale face meant refinement. So companies sold women poison as a snack. Arsenic complexion wafers were small tablets marketed for the skin. Advertisements claimed they could remove freckles, clear the complexion, and give the face a smooth, transparent beauty. Some ads called them harmless. That was important because arsenic was already famous as a poison. The idea was not completely random. Small repeated doses of arsenic can change the skin's appearance. It can make a person look strangely pale. It can also cause stomach pain, vomiting, nerve problems, hair loss, skin lesions, and death. But the packaging did not say that part loudly. The customer was not buying poison. She was buying delicacy. Some women used arsenic externally. Some took it internally. Some bathed in arsenic-rich mineral waters. In the language of the time, it was not self-destruction. It was maintenance. A pale face could help a woman look gentle, wealthy, and marriageable. The cost was that the body had to survive being slowly treated like a pest problem. Belladonna. In Renaissance Italy, large dark eyes were considered beautiful. Not just the color of the eyes, but the size of the pupils. Wide pupils made a face look soft, emotional, and seductive. So women used belladonna. The plant's name literally means beautiful woman. It came from deadly nightshade, one of the most toxic plants in Europe. Drops made from it could dilate the pupils, making the eyes look larger and darker. It worked. That was the problem. Belladonna affects the nervous system. It can blur vision, dry the mouth, raise the heart rate, cause confusion, and in high enough amounts, kill. Repeated use in the eyes could damage vision. Some women were making themselves temporarily half-blind, so their eyes looked more attractive to other people. The beauty standard was not about seeing the world clearly. It was about being seen. At a distance, the effect looked romantic. Up close, it was a person poisoning her own eyes for the shape of a gaze. The fashion faded. The plant remained poisonous. Foot binding. For centuries in China, tiny feet were considered one of the most desirable features a woman could have. They were called lotus feet. The smaller they were, the more elegant they seemed. The process usually began when a girl was still a child. Her toes were bent under the sole of the foot. The arch was forced upward. Long bandages wrapped the foot tighter and tighter to stop it from growing normally. Bones broke. The shape changed. The pain did not end after one day. It continued through childhood as the bindings were removed, tightened, and replaced. The goal was not comfort. The goal was size. A foot, only a few inches long, could improve marriage prospects. It signaled discipline, femininity, family status, and obedience to a beauty system older than the girl herself. By the 19th century, foot binding was widespread among Han Chinese women, especially in wealthier families. Some estimates say nearly every upper-class Han woman had bound feet. The shoes were tiny and beautiful. The feet inside them were not. Women with bound feet could have trouble walking for the rest of their lives. Infections were common. Falls became more dangerous. The body adjusted around damage that had been created on purpose. A child's bones were broken, so adults could call the result graceful. That was the beauty standard. Tightlacing. In Victorian Europe and America, the fashionable waist was small. Not just naturally small, engineered small. Corsets had existed for a long time, but tightlacing turned them into a daily contest between the body and the silhouette. Women pulled the laces tighter and tighter until the torso narrowed into an hourglass shape. The waist looked controlled. Everything inside was compressed. The ribs could shift. Breathing could become shallow. Women fainted. Digestion could suffer. Back muscles weakened because the corset did some of the work the body was supposed to do. Doctors argued about the damage. Dress reformers attacked the practice. Preachers called it vanity. Fashion magazines kept printing tiny waists. The strange part is that the danger became part of the look. A woman who fainted easily was seen as delicate. A woman who could not move freely was seen as refined. Weakness became feminine. Restriction became elegance. Not every corset was extreme. Not every woman tight-laced. But the ideal was clear enough that people chased it. They were not just wearing clothing. They were training the body to fit a drawing. And if the body complained, fashion had an answer. Pull harder. Victorian depilatories. Hair removal used to be chemical warfare. In the 18th and 19th centuries, beauty manuals printed recipes for depilatory powders and creams. They promised smooth skin by burning away hair. The ingredients could include quicklime, alkaline lye, orpiment, and arsenic compounds. Quicklime can burn skin. Orpiment is a toxic arsenic mineral. Lye is caustic enough to destroy tissue. Together, they did remove hair. They also removed some of the person. The instructions often warned users not to leave the mixture on too long. That was the whole trick. The product had to be strong enough to dissolve hair, but not so strong that it destroyed the skin before the user washed it off. That is not skincare. That is timing a chemical injury. Women used these mixtures on the face, arms, and body to meet changing ideas of smoothness. Some recipes were passed around like household tips. Others were sold as commercial products with prettier packaging and softer language. The bottle did not say, "This contains a toxic mineral and a burn agent." It said beauty. For a few minutes, the skin looked smooth. Then it could turn red, blister, peel, or scar. Hair came off. Sometimes the skin came with it. X-ray hair removal. When X-rays were discovered in the late 19th century, people did not immediately treat them with fear. They treated them like magic. Doctors used them. Inventors used them. Shoe stores used them to look at feet inside shoes. Beauty businesses used them to remove unwanted hair. For women with facial hair, this sounded like a miracle. No razors, no painful plucking, no chemical burns, just invisible rays that made the hair fall out. One device was called the Trico system. It was sold for X-ray epilation and advertised as safe. Beauty shop operators used machines on customers who wanted smooth faces. The sessions could damage hair follicles enough to stop growth. Years later, the real cost appeared. Some women developed radiation injuries. Some developed cancers in the treated areas decades after the hair removal. A beauty treatment had placed ionizing radiation directly against the face. The strangest part is how modern it must have felt. A machine, a clinic, a scientific name. A promise that old beauty problems had finally been solved by technology. But the machine did not know the difference between unwanted hair and living tissue. It treated both as material. Tho-Radia. In the 1930s, radioactivity sounded futuristic. Radium glowed. Scientists talked about invisible energy. The public saw it as powerful, modern, and almost supernatural. So a French cosmetics brand put it in face cream. Tho-Radia sold creams, powders, and other beauty products using scientific language. The products were linked to thorium and radium. Advertisements promised firm tissue, stimulated circulation, smoother skin, and a younger appearance. It was luxury science in a jar. The name sounded medical. The packaging looked elegant. The message was that radiation could wake the skin up. This was the era when radioactive products were being sold for all kinds of health and beauty problems. People drank radioactive tonics, used radioactive pads, and brushed their teeth with products that promised energy from the atom. Tho-Radia was not marketed as horror. It was marketed as progress. The woman applying the cream was not imagining herself as a future medical case. She was imagining herself as modern. Eventually, the culture changed. Radiation stopped feeling glamorous and started feeling dangerous. The products disappeared into museums and collections. But for a while, the beauty industry looked at one of the most dangerous forces humans had ever discovered and thought, this might help with wrinkles. The tapeworm diet. The tapeworm diet is one of the most disgusting beauty myths that refuses to die. The idea was simple. Swallow a parasite. Let it live inside the body. Let it consume part of the food. Lose weight without eating less. For obvious reasons, this was a terrible idea. Tapeworm infections can cause abdominal pain, nausea, weakness, diarrhea, and dangerous complications if the parasite spreads beyond the intestine. In some forms, larvae can reach the brain, eyes, or other tissues. At that point, weight loss is no longer the main concern. Stories about Victorian women taking tapeworm pills are famous. The historical evidence for how common it actually was is messy. Some ads existed. Some stories were exaggerated. Some were probably fake. But the reason the myth survives is because it feels believable. The beauty standard was already extreme enough. Women were told to be small, narrow, light, and controlled. Diet culture turned hunger into discipline. A parasite became imaginable as a product. That is the disturbing part. Even if many tapeworm pills were scams, the scam worked because the promise made sense to the market. Eat normally, stay thin, let something else suffer inside you. The perfect body powered by an infection. Ohaguro. Not every strange beauty practice was meant to make the body younger or thinner. Sometimes beauty meant hiding what modern people are told to show. In Japan, for centuries, many women blackened their teeth. The practice was called Ohaguro. It was especially common among married women and members of certain social classes during the Heian and Edo periods. To modern eyes, black teeth may look shocking. At the time, they could signal maturity, beauty, marriage, and status. White teeth were not always the ideal. In some contexts, black teeth looked elegant, like lacquer. The mixture often involved iron filings and vinegar. It stained the teeth dark and could also act like a sealant, helping protect against decay. So this one was not exactly the same as lead paint or arsenic wafers. It was not simply people poisoning themselves for beauty. But it shows something stranger. Beauty is not fixed. A smile that one century tries to bleach, another century tries to blacken. One society wants the face pale. Another wants the teeth dark. One era wants hair removed. Another wants hair piled high. The body stays the same. The rules change, and people obey them like the rules were natural. The fontange. In the late 1600s, European women began building height onto their heads. The style was called the fontange. It was named after the Duchess of Fontange, a mistress of King Louis XIV. The story goes that her hair came loose during a hunt, so she tied it up with a ribbon. The king liked it. Court women copied it. Then fashion did what fashion always does. It got taller. Women built towers of lace, wire, linen, and hair above their heads. Some styles rose so high that women had trouble entering carriages or passing through doors. Servants helped assemble them. Pins held the structure together. Powder covered the hair. Grease helped shape it. The look became an architectural project. Hair was no longer just hair. It was furniture. Later high hairstyles in the 18th century became even more theatrical, with feathers, fruit, ships, and political symbols worked into the design. A woman's head could become a billboard for status, taste, and loyalty. The danger was not always poison. Sometimes it was hygiene, weight, and absurdity. Hair could go unwashed for long periods. Powder and pomade built up. The scalp suffered underneath the spectacle. But in court society, practicality was not the point. The point was to be seen from across the room. If your head could barely fit inside the room, even better.